Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Confessions of a Gaming Mum. Apologies for the delay in posting more videos, but been a bit hectic in the household, obviously with us going on holiday for our anniversary, so it was only a few days, but it completely knocked me out of routine when it comes to making videos and stuff. Today I wanted to talk about a video I've been promising I was going to do for ages, and only just really getting around to it, and that is why I chose to have a home birth, and also to talk a little bit about hypnobirthing, because with me they kind of go hand in hand, because if it weren't for me taking hypnobirthing classes then I wouldn't have thought of the idea of actually having a home birth. Home birth would never have even crossed my mind. So I'm hoping that what I can actually do is just, I suppose, just shed a little light on the subject, because I think there's a lot of people out there that, again, just wouldn't even dream of having a home birth, and like would just laugh at it if anyone actually ever said to them, would you consider it? There's also the fact that Meghan Markle, Prince Harry's wife, is the rumours are that she's wanting to have a home birth rather than actually going into hospital, and everyone's kind of like, controversial. But everyone forgets that the Queen actually gave birth to all her children basically at home, because that was the done thing at the time. So yeah, people forget that really quickly. It's like, what do people think? Like, we've always had hospitals and children have always been born in hospitals. No, that's not the case. I think it was like it was something that was brought in by the government in like the 1970s or something, when they basically said, yeah, children should be born in hospitals. That's just the way of it. I can guarantee that if you were to ask anyone that was born before the 1970s, most likely, if their birth was a normal one, that they were born at home. I'm pretty sure my mum was born at home. She was born in the 50s. My dad was born in the 50s. He was born in hospital, but that's because my nan is a bit of a wimp and she's a very tiny lady, and he was a very big baby. So if you were to actually ask her, she'd be like, I nearly died on the birthing table, and she was in a coma or something for like 3 weeks afterwards. She's got a touch of the drama about her, my nan, so well, we just take what she said with a pinch of salt. But yeah, she did have a hard time with it. I know it weren't easy for her, and but other than that, I'm pretty sure that if anyone you ask that was born before the 1970s, they would actually tell you they were born at home. To me, it's kind of like, ever since finding out about it, or even, I mean, I don't even think I thought of it as an option really when it was first sort of talked about. I mean, I should say, like, when I heard about it, it was basically I'd booked to do, was it? I can't even remember how many classes it was. It was a good few classes. Was it 10 classes? I can't even remember now. It was so long ago. Yeah, we did basically a hypnobirthing class, which was at the hospital that I was registered to give birth at if I chose to give birth at the hospital. And I think it was even in the first class that they actually brought up home births, and the fact that it was an option to you, and the fact that the hospital I was registered with are actually very pro home birthing, and they have a lot of midwives basically on call, so you don't have to go into hospital, because there's midwives that you can call up and they'll come and help you with your home birth if that's what you want. So yeah, they just talked about like the benefits of it. It kind of convinced me in that first lesson really, because the whole reason, like, I should probably start at the beginning with hypnobirthing. It sounds like a really like hippie thing, or like it's all about meditation and shit like that. And I mean, there's some bits that are a bit kind of like don't really go in for that sort of stuff, but the general idea is that the more relaxed you are when you're giving birth, when you go into labour, the more likely it is that you'll have a straightforward birth. You will be happy and healthy, the baby will be happy and healthy. I mean, at the end of the day, that's sort of priority, and that's what all that matters. And as they actually said in the class as well, their motto was, you will get the right birth on the day. So even if you do have issues when you give birth, or there is problems, it was because that was meant to happen. It's not because you failed or the medical practitioners failed or whatever. It's basically like, that is just how things panned out. There's nothing you could have done to change that sort of thing. So yeah, so we went along because I just wanted to see, just wanted to get as much information as possible really about the whole thing. To me, I would recommend any sort of soon-to-be mums, if you can, go into hypnobirthing classes. If you can't go to hypnobirthing classes, get a hypnobirthing book or DVD or whatever, and just take in what they say. Like I said, you don't have to believe everything that they say. There's a lot of things about you have to, there's mottos and phrases that you can, and some of them I guess are good to hear, because I mean there was one that I really loved. I never actually listened to it when I was giving birth, but it was one that I remember because we listened to the music and the audio leading up to the birth, and there was one where it said every, what do they call it, every wave, they don't call them contractions, it's every wave that you feel brings you one step closer to seeing your baby. And I think that's a really nice one to remember, because obviously that thing of, yes, you'll most likely be in a lot of pain and you'll most likely be really uncomfortable, but it's not going to last forever. And every single contraction or wave that you go through, every one of those is one less to before your baby's born. So it's a really lovely way to look at it, really, I think. But yeah, the whole idea, like I said, the whole idea behind hypnobirthing is for you to be as relaxed as possible. So they have the music, they talk about having aromatherapy and massages, and like I said, having these phrases that you keep saying to yourself, just to sort of get you through it, and just having that positive mindset. And the whole thing is people go into labour thinking it's going to hurt. Basically, as soon as you say labour, everyone thinks it's they think of one born every minute, and just women screaming at the top of their lungs, or they're pushing a baby out, sort of thing. And I'm not going to turn around and say, oh no, it doesn't hurt, because it did hurt, but then there's some people that go through it that don't really have the pain. So everyone's different. So you can't be and it really pisses me off when you see people that, oh my god, it hurt like hell. I went for an epidural because it was just I was in so much pain. I felt like I was being torn in two. That is not what a soon-to-be mum needs to hear. She needs all the positivity, as much positivity as she can get, because it's fucking terrifying. The fact that you know that you're growing this human inside you and you need to push that thing out. You're gonna be scared. It's a natural thing to feel, and people make it saying to you about, like I said with my nan, where she was like, I nearly died and I think spent 3 weeks in a coma or whatever, and it's just that's not what you need to hear. So yeah, so the hypnobirthing thing, it's all about the positivity and just trying to be relaxed as much as possible. And the magic word that they use is oxytocin, because you need a shit ton of oxytocin to get you through the labour and to help things progress. Because oxytocin, which is basically the love hormone, which is what the muscles in your stomach, what they need to help push that baby out. Because and that's what I mean, there is actually a science behind it, and people and it's silly that this isn't really told to people. I don't remember a lot of it being said outside of the hypnobirthing classes. And basically it's the whole thing of, you think of animals in say zebra or giraffe or whatever, sort of in the savannah. Female zebra about to give birth, so she's having the contractions, ready to push the baby out. All of a sudden she sees in the distance, she sees a lioness is prowling about, hungry lioness, ready to pick out a vulnerable newborn foal that's just been born. So what does that zebra do? The contractions stop completely and she runs to safety, so she can give birth to her baby where it's safe, where there's no lionesses around or anything like that. And I mean, obviously we're not in that we're not in that same situation now, are we? But still, we haven't evolved out of that sense of fight or flight, and that's basically what it is. So when you give birth, or when you're about to give birth, your adrenaline starts pumping because you're nervous, you're scared, you've had all these people telling you, oh, it's going to hurt, it's going to be really painful, it's going to be really traumatic, blah blah blah. So you're psyching yourself up, and your body is pumping out all this adrenaline, and that's actually stopping your contractions. And not a lot of people realise that, and that's why I think it's one of those things where it should be told to mums, or soon to be mums, or it should even be taught in schools, really. It's in preparation for girls that choose to have babies. It should be common knowledge that you you need to be in a good positive mindset, and you need to be as calm as possible, otherwise that's when the baby's not going to come out because the contractions have stopped, and that's when you get more medical or more reasons for there to be medical interventions, which obviously further stresses you out and things like that. So it's not good in the long run. You need to ditch that adrenaline, and you need to give more of the oxytocin. Hence why they say that having sex before, like if you're trying to bring on labour, is good, because obviously that produces a lot of oxytocin. Also sperm is really good for helping the cervix to dilate. If ever you need to be induced, what they'll actually give you is a pessary, which is basically a chemical version of sperm. So it's something that's in sperm they'll give you, which is what is meant to induce labour. And there's a difference. So like if it's your second child, and you've breastfed, they might, or they can say that if you try breastfeeding your first, obviously depending on how old they are, but you can try and breastfeed, because that will bring on oxytocin as well. There's loads of different things, and a lot of the time they say as well is just being in a really comfortable environment, and like an environment that you're familiar with and that you feel relaxed in. And yeah, and that goes on to the whole home birth thing, because originally I wanted to have, or I was playing with the idea of having a water birth, but then I found out that at the hospital that I was registered with, they only had like 2 or 3 birthing pools. So they said, so if you go in when you're in labour, there's a chance, because it was quite a busy maternity ward as well, there was quite a big chance that you wouldn't be able to actually labour within the pool. And that really sort of put me off the idea. I was kind of like, oh, but I really want to be able to give birth in a pool, because for me I just love the thought of just being in nice warm water, because I just love like being in a nice warm bath. Like I could sit in, like you can ask my husband, I could sit in a nice hot bath all day. So yeah, I just really love the idea of just being in the water. The aftermath, like all the bodily fluids floating about in it, that didn't bother me. It was just the whole thing for me. It was just getting through the labour as comfortable as possible, and for me that meant being in water. And also they say that water is the top actual pain relief for when you give birth, besides an epidural. But with an epidural, obviously there's the risk that it might not work, or that there could be complications and different things like that. So the best form of pain relief when you go into labour is basically water. Yeah, so I was kind of really sort of anxious about the fact that I wouldn't get the water birth I wanted if I went into hospital to have the baby. And that's when they started talking about home births, and I was like, oh, I like the idea, but obviously you'd have to rent out the pool, and I don't think our living room would be big enough, blah blah blah. So the midwives who actually run the hypnobirthing class, I spoke to them afterwards, and they were actually saying, oh, as long as you have this certain amount of space, you can actually, because they do big pools, big birthing pools, so you can fit obviously you and your partner in, or your birthing partner in if you so wish, or you can get pools that are small enough so it's literally just you that's in there, so they can fit into all sorts of sizes of rooms. And obviously if it doesn't fit in the living room, then you can have it in your bedroom, you can have it in your bathroom, you can have it in your kitchen, wherever it will fit. It doesn't necessarily have to be in a specific room. So that made me feel a lot better. So then I started thinking like, yeah, and like went home, measured up, and we were like, oh actually yeah, we'd actually have plenty of space to be able to do this. So yeah, just like it took a bit of convincing for like my mum and my sister for me to say that I wanted to give birth at home. My mum didn't take as much convincing as my sister, but I don't even think my sister really came around to the idea until after obviously my son was born. But yeah, we took my mum, because they do like coffee mornings at the midwife centre, where the midwives, the on-call midwives, basically they're based. And like my mum got to ask all like different questions to make her feel at ease or whatever. And that's the thing I think people don't realise with home births. It's basically like being in a hospital, except that you have 2 midwives to yourself. When you're on a maternity ward, you're going to have probably like 6 or 7 midwives between God knows how many women, so they're going to be popping in and out. When you want something, there might not be someone there, or they'll go to get it for you and then they'll forget because something else is needed, something more urgent. They're called away to something more urgent. So you're always going to have inconveniences in hospital. You're never going to be the centre of attention. When you're at home, like I said, you have 2 midwives that are there to do everything for you. They'll make you a cup of tea, they'll make you drinks, they'll help you go to the toilet, they'll do everything for you, but they'll also be making sure that you're okay. And the thing is as well, I think people get sort of stuck on the idea that you're at risk if you're at home. And I mean, I can understand it if you live really far from the hospital. I mean, we're lucky, we're only like a 10-minute drive. I mean, even not, well, say 15-minute drive from the hospital, 10 minutes or less in an ambulance. It was like a no-brainer really. But yeah, I can understand, like, if you lived over an hour away from a hospital, then it's something that might be you'd be a bit apprehensive about. But the whole thing is, like I said, you've got these 2 midwives with you, and they're medical professionals, so if anything goes wrong, or if they even get the slight hint of anything going wrong, they'll know. And the thing is, they have a hotline basically to the ambulance service, not to the hospital, to the ambulance service, so they can call an ambulance, and you will be priority for that ambulance because they know that you're a mother or a woman that's in labour and you're about to give birth, so you will be sort of pushed up to that, like in the queue, if there is a queue. So yeah, even if things were to go wrong, you're safe, you're going to be looked after because you've got the midwives there to look after you. Like the midwife said in the hypnobirthing thing, it's like you'll get the right birth on the day, but most births just go without a hitch. A lot of the time it's because of the mother getting stressed out, or just something going on that would lead to medical intervention, and that will be what will hinder the birth, so to speak. And again, going back to the whole oxytocin and the adrenaline, obviously when you go into labour, you have to call up the hospital to say, my contractions are, I'm having like a 1-minute contraction every 4 minutes, whatever. So you have to call them to let them know, and then that's when they say whether or not you should come in, because you know your contractions need to be regular before you go into the hospital. And it could get to a point, I mean, they said in the hypnobirthing classes where they had several women that were like, yeah, your contractions are really good, yeah, come into the maternity ward, you're basically ready to give birth. And the women would get to the hospital and the contractions would stop. And be like, oh, I don't understand, I don't know what's happened. And it's that whole thing of, because you're in a medical sort of like major surgery environment, it does get your adrenaline pumping. You may not want it to, but it's just one of those things. It's a sterile, unfamiliar environment, so you're not going to be having the oxytocin, you're not going to be feeling relaxed. I mean, you probably are excited because you're about to give birth or whatever, but it's still that whole thing of you're not as relaxed as you should be when you're about to give birth, so therefore your contractions most likely will stop, or they'll just go really out of order, so then you might get sent home again. So that's another thing as well. But yeah, it just, for me, I just love the idea of, because when we measured up in the living room and we were able to put the birthing pool within the living room, and it meant I could have it in front of the TV, so I could have the TV on if I wanted, I could have music. I made like a nice sort of classical music soundtrack on Spotify that I listened to while I was in labour, and it was just really nice and relaxing. Like I said, yeah, I just had this nice warm water. It was something like being in a spa, although obviously having contractions in between. But yeah, I just love the idea of that, and like giving birth to the baby, being at home, so I could lay on the sofa with the baby after giving birth. I'd be surrounded by the people I love, so my husband would be there, my mum would be there, my dad would be right around the corner to come around when the baby was born. And then afterwards I could just jump in my own shower or have my own bath, I could lay in my own bed. And to me like I said, it was just a no-brainer. I was like, why would you not like to do that? Why would you want to go into a hospital, risk having to have medical intervention, then having to go through like a series of tests, and then I think it takes up to 6 hours after you've given birth to actually get signed off from hospital. And then obviously, like, you have to and that's just because of the paperwork. It's not that 6 hours because they're checking you over and they're like, yeah, that's fine, you can go. It's the whole thing of, that's how long the admin takes. It takes 6 hours to get you signed off and out of the door. But I mean, for us, obviously, we had a bit of bad luck because when our son was born, he had he didn't have like a really high temperature, but they said it was higher than normal. So they thought there was a risk of infection, so they had to put him for like several days on a series of antibiotics. So basically I got the last thing I wanted, in terms of, one, having to give birth to him in a hospital, two, not being able to have skin on skin with him when he was first born, and being able to like breastfeed him from the get-go, but also, yeah, not being in my own bed for the first week of having him. So yeah, that was hard. So yeah, I mean, even though I went through what I did, and like I think I said in the other video, I didn't have the best midwives at my home birth, or my home labour, I should say. Because that's one thing I do not regret, even though, like I said, the birth was not what I wanted, and the first few days of his life was not what I wanted at all. But I'll never regret the fact that I laboured at home, because it was just such a, like, I don't have like a phobia of hospitals, I don't hate hospitals. Watching programmes like One Born Every Minute, and just seeing people just sort of pacing up and down in the labour ward or whatever, and it did not appeal to me. I was like, how can you be comfortable? This is like the most uncomfortable thing you're probably going to go through in life. Why would you make it even more uncomfortable for yourself by just being in a sterile room that you're not familiar with, without your home comforts and things like that? So I'm glad I was able to do that, because like I said, I was able to listen to my music. I was in my own living room, was watching the news in the morning. Like, I had all the food, or whatever, food and drink that I could want at home, and everything, all the comforts I could want. Didn't end up using them, but they were there. So, and I just know that if we were to go in for a second baby, that instantly I'm just going to say I want to give birth at home, and hope that actually the next time round, that it does actually happen. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, anyone has any sort of concerns about the whole thing with home birthing, or if you have any questions about hypnobirthing and anything like that, then please just leave a comment below, and I'll be more than happy to answer any of them. I mean, if Meghan Markle can have a home birth, then I don't see why anyone else can't. And I mean, here's hoping that with her experience, that she will actually make it cool again. So we'll have a rise in home births, and we actually let the NHS have a bit of downtime. But anyway, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video today. Probably just a bit more rambling, as I was trying to get into the swing of doing videos again. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and I shall see you all in the next video. Bye.